you'll notice that there's this framework that's one piece. This is all one piece around here. So in order to take this off, it's not like most where you can just pop it right off, except the grill part on here does, that comes out of there, right?
But we want to get the whole front.
Out. You've got to go around the whole edge of the chassis.
We have to take off all the handles. And then there are clips. It's been a while since I've done this. What are those things? Or maybe it was the other way around. Do we have to take the front off to get the sides off? I don't even know. It's all got to come off anyway.
Oh, yeah.
These are
some specialized screws.
Oh yeah. These are the hinge. Or the near the hinge screws.
Look at those guys. Talk about specialized. How tiny those are. You can't go down to Ace Hardware and pick up replacement. Take some plastic bags and a permanent marker. Put, you know, your different screws in there, and then write on there what they were from, like 5 1/4 bay.
Yeah, do you do that a lot?
If I'm overwhelmed, I do, because I will forget.
True in this
I used to
case.
just take all the fasteners and put them into one cup, and then
We did that when we dismantled this the first time.
Yeah.
Kyle and I.
yeah, and then months later sometimes when you go back to assemble it because maybe it's been held up somewhere in the process, and you're like, you have to decipher these screws now. It's just don't go there.
Save your
Don't
time.
learn from my mistakes.
It should just pop on now. These tabs should just...
break any tabs.
Oh, that felt so good.
Gosh.
Surprisingly didn't break.
Another tip when you're dealing with a lot of different fasteners, grab some tape and just tape them onto the part that they're from. So you can keep that together like that. Again, what kind of tape is that? You should know by now.
You asking me?
Asking them.
It's that Scotch stuff.
233 plus, best masking tape in the world. Some things have changed since Andrew and I were brainstorming the original ideas for this CM2 mod, and the biggest thing that we've deviated from is having two 240 radiators in the lower section of the chassis. It just seemed like it was really going to cramp things in there, and so what we've done is we're going to keep that space open, and we put, if you didn't notice it right away, is a whopping 480 radiator in the front, and we're going to add another one on the top. It's going to be in the ceiling. So the CPU will have a 480 and the GPUs will have their own 480 loop. One thing I did stick to is I like the idea of, because the doors on the CM2 open out like a wingspan, I thought it'd be cool to have the exterior pieces on top open up too differently. Something like this, or I'm actually now thinking about having this as a separate section here opening up. And Andrew liked the idea of having the two reservoirs up on top up here and maybe angling them backward just for a completely different look. Again, this is a very sci-fi theme, and we just want to bring some different stuff to the table. Pops out perfect.
So I'm working on removing these inside plastic tabs for the cut that we're going to be making on the top of this side piece. So we're going to do some kind of mesh behind this. So I'm just making sure that we can get everything in here, and these seem rather unnecessary and they're very easy to pop out. So I'm just using the snips and pliers to get these things out. Now for an update on our side shrouds for the Cosmos 2, as you know, it has a lot of plastic pieces. So I went ahead and cut into these to make windows that I can insert Modder's mesh into. And I used C-clamps to hold this down, and then 3M DP190 epoxy to hold these in place. And so now the next step is going to be taking my sandpaper to clear up any runoff on the Modder's mesh here, as well as Scotch-Brite pads to run over the whole exterior plastic to give the paint job something to grip onto.
This was cut out here. The two reservoirs are going to be here. The lines will go down here and then go down here to the pumps. And you won't see that. That's the initial plan. We may move the pumps from here to here. We don't know yet. So, but we're trying to keep this as clean on the inside as possible and hide a lot of stuff, because that seems to be the favorable trend that a lot of people are doing, is hiding stuff so you can't see it. And it makes it difficult when you've got two 480 radiators and 4 GPUs and you're gonna water cool everything. You know, so that's the plan. And also we got to make a grill for the front radiator, and there's lots and lots of things to do yet. So, but I'm taking it off to Andrew because he's going to tackle the right side panel, doing something different with that panel, with the grill. He says no, he doesn't want to. Because the problem is, and a lot of people are learning this about the Cosmos 2, is that the side panels are actually pretty complex for what they are. They've got, they're hollow. It's like a layered, I don't know how many layers we're dealing with, like 3 different layers. It's just not something that you could just easily cut out and do a window, because then it's going to be a hollow shell. So there was a plate that was here that we removed, and the plan is always to just anything but stock, right? Just, we can't have it be stock. So Andrew is going to cut out the factory grill and do something different using the same round mesh that we've used on everything else on the build so far. He's going to cut this out. This is a basic outline. Cut here, cut this out, and then put the round Modder's mesh in there, which is this right here. And then cut out Rebel Alliance logo from red acrylic and then mount that on the mesh. So that's the tentative idea for it. But we've already done total U-turns on a lot of the original planning. I mean, that just happens, you know. You get in there and then suddenly your gut says it just doesn't feel right anymore. I mean, so it's modding too. There's no rule book to follow, right? Right, Andrew?
Right.
Andrew's doing the camera and he doesn't want to talk.
I'm shy today.
You're shy today. Are you too shy to do this today?
I don't want to tackle that thing. I really don't want to. It's hard to tell from the camera, but it's very complicated.
Well, the thing is too, another thing about it is that this aluminum this is a very thin aluminum shell on it. It's actually you have to bend these tabs that you barely see, but anyways, this shell is very thin and bends really easily. So removing it just to bend it, you're gonna risk wrecking it. You know, having creases or folds or bends or whatever. So it just seems to make more sense to just go in here and cut it.
Easier said than done.
You're not convinced, are you?
I like the idea, but we'll see. I mean, look at this. This is my problem with this thing.
Right.
See, all this crap.
I think
is what we have to do.
Really, what it is you're letting it intimidate you. It's not really as complex as you think it is. It's really not.
All right, we'll see.
Okay.
You'll know if we have a final video of this actually being done, or if we took a U-turn again. We'll see. Alright, so I'm finished up cutting this window panel out here. Let's see if this will pop out. Little melted plastic going on here. There, we've got it. What I did is I went ahead and took out all the little tabs that are along the corner edges here because we're going to need some space to mount the modder's mesh behind this so we can get a good solid grip with the epoxy on here. So I'm going to be using a hand file to work on the final edge along here. This is that thin aluminum outer shell that's on here. So I'm going to go ahead and use that for that part, and then I'm going to be using the barrel sander attachment for the Dremel to come in here and kind of finish up some of these edges just so that we can get the mesh to seat nicely.
Just an overview of the modifications to the chassis of the CM2. We've cut some slotted openings and the motherboard tray. This is going to be covered by a plate here. Cables will be routed through these channels. You won't see any of this. Our goal is to not have any of the wires really being shown when you look at the system. Another thing that was done was cutting out the rear exhaust factory grill. We're going to have a custom grill here that kind of looks like a jet engine exhaust. It's a machined aluminum grill, so it's going to stick out a little bit more three-dimensional. And here, this area is where 3.5-inch drives are going to go. 2 of them, another one will go on the floor. And right now I'm just cutting out an opening here for the water-cooled tubing for the top radiator's got to come through here. So I'm making the 8-pin hole a bit wider. And what I'm doing is I'm using a reinforced cutting wheel on a Dremel just to do this. I've already made the cutout, and I'm just kind of going over it to get rid of any sharp edges because we are going to have tubing going through here. So. What are you doing now, Andrew?
Clamping down the modder's mesh so I can get it to conform to the plastic edge, and then we'll use the 3M epoxy to hold this thing down. I'm actually going to be using a weight in the center here because there's that little bit of space there where it kind of bows. So I'm just going to put that down there, and then we'll be able to shoot this with epoxy around the edges.
There's the stock heat sinks from the Asus Extreme Rampage 4 removed.
And here is where Andrew's at.
So I've got all the blocks installed. RAM blocks, MOSFET, CPU, and motherboard here. The installation for the most part was very straightforward, pretty simple, nothing too complicated. The only problem that we had was with the O-ring on the CPU block, which was a little tricky to get in there.
Freezing the O-ring for a while in the refrigerator did not help. It won't stay in place. So, next technique, adding a bit of Vaseline to the O-ring to help stick it in place. And no, the Vaseline will not contaminate the loop. Does not like to stay. Okay. Alright, we got our plate in the right position for the right processor, for the spray pattern, and here's the cover.
Is that the right orientation on that top?
Oh,
on
the ring
bottom?
just moved. Right orientation? Oh, you're right. That's right. It's got to be just an FYI. I can't even pick it up. The pattern on here needs to cross hatch over this pattern, like that, just so you know. Okay.
You little turkey, you gave us about 2 seconds before you moved. 2-second window? Are you kidding me? Oh, you little bastard.
Moral of the story, if you pick one of these up, don't bother swapping the jet plate unless you really want to struggle with an O-ring.
Yeah, but you gotta do what you gotta do if you're gonna throw all this money at it for the best performance possible. You know? Would you be able
Well,
to
that's why I did it.
Would you be able to sleep at night knowing that your little plate in there was not the correct one?
Put it on.
Just put it on.
Just put it on. The thing's staying, just do it.
Alright.
Once we got that figured out, all these installed really nicely. The motherboard's already weighing, you know, about 50 pounds, so can't wait until we get 4 graphics cards and some water blocks on those as well. But it's looking good, so what I'm gonna do right now is just kind of figure out how we want to run the water cooling setup. We can drop this in the case, do some, you know, test fitting with things and see how it all works out. So this is still in the planning stage, but we're making progress. Some kind of metallic orange.
That super sparkly orange?
Yeah. Can you do that in like some sort of metallic, gray, silver sort of thing?
Or was it this one? It's probably this one. That one's real. This is big sparkle here.
That was on the dirt build, right? Is there something similar to that in like a silver, gray?
Yeah. Brush your teeth. Or a Smurfy smile. Darker, you can see where the other one was.
Yeah. I like where that's going.
And that's right about to number 3.
Yeah.
See, we're a little darker. We can add metallic to it. This will probably look better when it's sprayed, but it's hard to even see the metallic. They're there, it's super fine. If you look at it real close, you can see real fine.
Mm-hmm. So we're looking at doing sort of the paneling spray on there, as well as the red and the stripes across the side panel.
But you want these to be on here too.
Yeah, yep. And some sort of, you know, bolts and
Right.
paneling like that.
Any laser blasts, like how they got there.
Yeah, I like that stuff. A little worn.
Just a little bit, you don't want to go ballistic.
Right. It doesn't need to be destroyed, but it can look like it's been seen.
It's not fresh off the sunlight.
Right.